from States, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. Secures agreement for additional 20 MSCF gas supply. Plus, Putin says NATO's increased defense spending poses no threat to Russia. Bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin the news this afternoon from the national scene where President Bola Tinubu is expected in Kaduna State today for the inauguration of several key developmental projects executed by the administration of Governor Uba Sani. Reports say the visit forms part of activities marking Sani's 2 years in office. The projects lined up for inauguration include the 300-bed specialist hospital in Millennium City, Kaduna, built by the state government to bolster the provision of healthcare services. Tinubu will also inaugurate the Institute of Vocational Training and Skills Development in Rigachikun road projects in Soba and Samaru Katav local government areas, as well as the 24-kilometer Kafchang Township Road. Others are the Tudumbiri Road, the 22-kilometer road linking Koru and Kubal local government areas, as well as the Vocational and Skills Training Center in Tudumburi. Meanwhile, President Tinubu said the issue of land grabbing would be confronted head-on if that was the cause of the frequent killings by armed herdsmen in Benue State. He also spoke of the constitution of a committee of elders, including ex-governors and two prominent traditional rulers in the state, to work for peace in Benue, and directed the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kade Betoko, and the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, to immediately arrest the killer headers who perpetrated the heinous crime. The president was in Benue in the aftermath of last Friday's killing of over 200 persons by armed herdsmen at Yawata axis of the state. The attacks also saw the setting ablaze of several houses and the displacement of hundreds of the residents who now take refuge in internally displaced persons IDP camps. In the meantime, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has reaffirmed her dedication to championing the health and education of women and girls across the country. She pledged to expand the support through her office and ongoing national initiatives. She made the commitment at the 7th Merck Foundation First Ladies Initiative Summit in Dubai, UAE yesterday. It was during the commemoration of the foundation's 13th anniversary. Speaking alongside First Ladies from 13 other nations, Senator Tinubu praised the Merck Foundation's commitment to training medical professionals across Africa and Asia, highlighting its impact on healthcare access and the advancement of girl-child education. Away from that, the Federation account revenue shared at a total sum of 1.659 trillion naira with the federal government, state governments, and local government councils as May 2025 revenue. This was disclosed in a communique on Wednesday signed by Bawa Mokwa, Director of Press and Public Relations at the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. The revenue was shared at the June 2025 Federation Account Allocation Committee FAAC meeting held in Abuja. The breakdown showed that the 1.659 trillion naira total distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 863.895 billion naira, distributable value added tax revenue of 691.714 billion naira, electronic money transfer levy revenue of 27.667 billion naira, and exchange difference revenue of 76.614 billion naira. Accordingly, the communique noted that distributable revenue stemming from 2.942 trillion naira was available in the month of May 2025, higher than the sum of 2.084 trillion naira received in the same year by 10.023 billion naira. Meanwhile, the federal government has disclosed that it has reached an agreement with gas companies for the supply of an additional 20 million standard cubic feet MSCF of gas to meet the growing demand for compressed natural gas (CNG) by vehicle owners. As part of its broader strategy, the government said it plans to convert between 125,000 and 200,000 vehicles to run on CNG by the end of this year. Speaking at the official launch of the Mobility CNG Supply Framework in Abuja, the program director and chief executive of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, Michael Oluwagbemi, stated that the initiative is targeting the deployment of 1 million CNG powered vehicles by 2027. He added that the federal government, in collaboration with private sector partners, is also accelerating the rollout of CNG refueling stations across the country to support this transition. Moving now to the red chambers, where the Nigerian Senate has issued Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited a 7-day ultimatum to account for 210 trillion naira in missing funds in its coffers as contained in audited financial statements spanning 2017 to 2023. This was made known on Wednesday during a session of the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, where NNPCL's Chief Financial Officer Dapo Shegun and other executives of the state-owned oil firm were present. According to the chairman of the committee, Senator Aliyu Wadada, he described the inconsistencies in NNPCL's financial records as unacceptable and warned that the Senate would pursue the matter to the full extent of its oversight powers. He lamented how accrued expenses of 103 trillion naira, which included 600 billion naira in retention fees, unspecified legal fees, and auditor charges, or without any accompanying documentation or referenced contracts. Over to the Green Chambers, the House of Representatives Public Accounts Committee on Wednesday warned 13 non-compliant oil companies to appear before it to answer questions in the ongoing probe of non-remittance of money due to the federal government or face sanctions. The companies allegedly owe the federal government about $456.95 million in unremitted revenues. In a statement issued by its spokesman, Akin Rotimi, the House noted that despite repeated invitations and public notices through national newspapers, the companies failed to appear before the committee. He said the developments prompted the committee to consider punitive actions in line with legislative and constitutional provisions. We move now to Africa, where Congo and Rwanda will sign a peace agreement in Washington on June 27. A joint press release from the nations and the United States Department said Wednesday. Both countries have agreed to the terms of the deal aimed at ending fighting in eastern Congo. Congo has accused Rwanda of backing M23 rebels in the east of the country. UN experts say the rebels are supported by about 4,000 troops from the neighboring nation. The decades-long conflict escalated in January when the M23 rebels advanced and seized the strategic Congolese city of Goma, followed by the town of Bukavu in February. The draft agreement includes provisions on respect for territorial integrity and a prohibition of hostilities, disengagement, disarmament, and conditional integration of non-state armed groups. Both countries have in the past held peace talks that have largely stalled, including talks hosted by Qatar. Colonel Naga, leader of the Congo River Alliance, a coalition of rebel groups, told the Associated Press in April that international sanctions and Congo's proposed mineral deals with the United States in search of peace would not stop the fighting. On the foreign scene, the United States Department said Wednesday it is resuming suspended student visa processing for foreigners, but will now require applicants to unlock social media accounts for government scrutiny. Officials will screen posts for content deemed hostile to the United States, its government, or founding principles. The U.S. State Department said Wednesday it is restarting the suspended process for foreigners applying for student visas, but all applicants will now be required to unlock their social media accounts for government review. The department said consular officers will be on the lookout for posts and messages that could be deemed hostile to the United States, its government, culture, institutions, or founding principles. Still on the foreign scene, Russian President Vladimir Putin said today that NATO's drive to increase defense spending was no threat to Moscow, ahead of the alliance's expected approval of a plan to bolster European military capacity. In a late night briefing, Putin vowed to continue advancing in Ukraine, questioned President Volodymyr Zelensky's legitimacy, and dismissed civilian deaths from Russian attacks. Meanwhile, the Western military alliance will hold a crucial summit in The Hague next week to discuss increasing defense spending to 5% of GDP under pressure from US President Donald Trump. Putin has cast his offensive in Ukraine as part of a wider conflict between Russia and US led NATO, which has been Ukraine's staunchest backer since Russia launched its offensive in February 2022. Still to come in the news. AIMBA announced resumption date for new season. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Thanks for staying tuned and now bringing the concluding part of the news this hour. On our business news, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has issued a mandatory directive requiring all grid-connected power generation companies to fully integrate their operations with the National Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition Energy Management System by December 31st, 2025, or face stiff financial penalties and possible disconnection from the national grid. This directive is contained in the new regulatory framework titled Order on the Mandatory Integration of Grid-Connected Generating Units into the new SCADA EMS for the Nigeria electricity supply industry and obtained from the Commission on Wednesday in Abuja. The order seeks to strengthen real-time monitoring of the power grid, improve operational efficiency, enhance load dispatch, and reduce nationwide system disturbances by ensuring full visibility of electricity generation across the country. The order, signed by the NERC Chairman Garba Sanusi and Vice Chairman Mr. Liu Oseni, took effect from May 22nd, 2025. Still in business, the U.S. Federal Reserve held interest rates steady for a fourth consecutive meeting Wednesday, forecasting higher inflation and cooler growth this year as President Donald Trump's tariffs begin to take hold and geopolitical uncertainty swells. Federal Chair Jerome Powell told reporters the central bank would make better decisions if it waited a few months to understand how tariffs impact spending and hiring, in a sign that the next rate adjustment could take some time to materialize. For now, he expects to learn more over the summer, while officials appear increasingly divided on whether they can cut interest rates at all in 2025. The Federal kept the benchmark lending rate at a range between 4.25% and 4.50% at the end of its two-day meeting, with officials penciling in two rate reductions this year, similar to earlier projections. On our health news, in commemoration of the 2025 International Day of the African Child, the United Nations Children's Fund has urged the government to increase the budget allocations for children's health, education, nutrition, protection, and social welfare. UNICEF said there was an urgent need to raise investment in child focused sectors and programs in Nigeria to protect their rights and enable them to thrive and transition to adulthood without deprivations. The United Nations agency noted that when the government champions and implements child centered budgets, it leads to the realization of the objectives of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which Nigeria is a signatory. Still in health, International Medical Humanitarian Organization Medicine Sans Frontières, also known as Doctors Without Borders, has ramped up its intervention in the fight against Lassa fever in Ebonyi State, southeast Nigeria, following years of repeated outbreaks that have overwhelmed the state's health infrastructure and led to the deaths of several healthcare workers. MSF, in a press statement issued on Wednesday, said its engagement in Ebonyi began June 2nd, 2018, during what it described as one of the deadliest Lassa fever outbreaks recorded in the region, according to the group. The 2018 outbreak severely affected the Alex Ekweme Federal University Teaching Hospital, Abakaliki, the state's main referral hospital, leaving the facility stretched beyond capacity and contributing to multiple fatalities, including the deaths of 16 health workers comprising doctors, nurses, and hospital cleaners. Describing the tense atmosphere during the outbreak, Dr. Nenaya Ajayi, who headed clinical services at the hospital's virology unit at the time, recounted how panic gripped the entire facility. In sports news now, Ayimba have scheduled Friday, June 20 as resumption date for pre-season training for 2025-2026 Nigeria Premier Football League NPFL season. The training exercise is expected to kickstart by 7:30 a.m. at the Ayimba International Stadium, Aba. The date was confirmed in a statement signed by the club's sporting director, Ifeanyi Ekweme. According to the statement, all the players and officials of the club are expected to adhere strictly to the directives. The 2025-2026 NPFL season is billed to commence August 22nd, 2025. It will be recalled that Ayimba missed out on a place for continental football next season. Still in sports, Chelsea's winger Mikhailo Mudryk has been charged by England's Football Association with violating anti-doping rules after failing a drug test. Mudryk has not played for Chelsea since November 28, following his provisional suspension by the FA for an adverse finding in a routine urine test in December. The Ukrainian international at the time said he was in complete shock and he never knowingly used any banned substances, but Mudryk could face a potential ban of up to 4 years under FA rules. On entertainment news, the organizer of Big Brother Nigeria reality show has announced the date for the premiere of its season 9 No Lose Guard Housemates reunion. The organizer made the announcement in a now trending post on Instagram ahead of its season 10 edition in July, sharing a photo featuring the show host Ebuka Obiu Chendu alongside some of her housemates, stated that the reunion will be premiered on Monday, June 23rd, 2025 by 10 p.m. The organizer noted that the reunion will come with new energy and drama as the 2024 housemates return with heightened emotions. Reports say the BB Niger 2025 season will be premiered on July 20 after the reunion of the 2024 No Lose Guard participants. And that's all we have in the news at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai MM. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.